let me ask you the question that Dan Shaughnessy wrote about in the Globe. Are the Patriots boring?
No, I think it's been a really entertaining couple of games. I think especially compared to last year.
Barth, slow your roll. Really entertaining?
They've played a couple games that have been close. It's not a slog. They're not lighting it up offensively, but it's hardly a slog either. No, I think it's been entertaining football through 2 games. And you still have this big looming question of Drake May and what's going to happen with that. I'm not saying they can't get boring, but no, I think they've been an entertaining team. I think they've been a very watchable product through 2 weeks.
I would say they've been okay. I would not say that they've been entertaining or that their offense is imaginative or exciting or explosive.
So I wouldn't say that either.
Really watch you watch football for is to see guys make plays, and they don't make many of them offensively.
No, the offense definitely leaves something to be desired, but it's not. I mean, we know how it felt at times last year watching this team, right? And maybe this is just recency bias compared to what we watched with this team the last 2 years, but I think there's something to sink your teeth into. They're making some plays in the running game. I know people want to see them throw the ball, but they're making some plays in the running game. Again, the games are competitive all the way through. They haven't felt out of either of these games at either point, and it's been watchable. It's been a decent product.
Would you rather watch a 6-win team that does it like this all year long, or a 4-win team that is more fun to watch and has bigger plays and can make a big play and stretch the field and get the ball to a young receiver on big explosive plays? What would you rather see?
I guess which team's showing more for the future? If they're winning 6 games like this, but Drake May comes in and he's playing like decent, you're seeing a ceiling there, then give me that. If it's 6 wins with Jacoby Brissett or 4 wins, but we get Drake May at some point, give me the one where we see Drake May.
So for you, it's all about May. And when do you want to see him?
Not for a couple more weeks, especially not with where the offensive line is at right now.
How about week 5? Does week 5 sound good to you?
If Vidarian Lowe's healthy and they can move Mike Onwenu back into guard by then yeah, week 5 is fine with me. To me, that's kind of the timeline I'm looking at. The offensive line scares me. I like Caden Walls as a right tackle prospect. I don't think it's going to go well for him at left tackle. I also think Mike Onwenu, at this point, it looks like he needs to move back into guard. Vidarian Lowe needs to be healthy for all of that to happen. Once we can see that line, then I think we start having the conversation about Drake May.
All right, conversation for May is on track for week 5. Chooks Okorafor, do you think they held a going-away party for him, or how do you think that was handled on the way out the door?
I don't know. Like, that whole thing never made sense to me from the beginning. And this is something I was hot on in the offseason. Tim, I was on with you a couple weeks ago. We talked about this. This is a guy that was a career right tackle, was a fringe starter, was released by a team that needed offensive line help. They brought him in, and the plan was to have him play left tackle, which it's so hard for a player to move from right tackle to left tackle. I don't think people necessarily understand what an adjustment that is. I know they're both called tackle, but it's different. And I wonder if he looked at it and said, I'm coming here to reset my value, and now I'm playing out of position. And this is a guy that, had some issues with the coaching staff before in Pittsburgh. The whole thing to me was set up to fail. I just don't think there was ever a path where him playing left tackle here went well. Maybe if they were going to stick him at right tackle, it's another story, but the path to him getting on the field was on the left side, and that was just never a spot where I think he was going to be able to do much.
So what are you looking for now? What type of game on Thursday night are we going to see?
So you got to be able to run the ball again. This is a Jets team that has gotten gashed on the ground through 2 weeks. The Niners ate them up. The Titans got them pretty bad. You got to be able to run the ball, but and I hear the sigh. I get it.
Good news. It's the only thing they can do.
Well, but here's the thing. Can they create something off the run? I've been waiting for 2 weeks. Like, all right, you're running the ball down their throat. They were running power. They were running duo in week 1. They got the wide zone going last week. Like, you're running the ball in all these different ways. So the defense has to key in on this. Can you hit play action off of that? Can you hit a screen off of that? Something like that. The deep passes, I don't think, are coming for a few weeks. If for no other reason, then they don't have time for the receivers to run down the field right now because of the offensive line. So what's the next big thing? Can you get the ball in the hands of somebody 5 yards down the field who can turn that into a 20 to 25-yard play?
If they only had a guy like that on their roster.
You see where I'm going here. I'm as a core belief, I'm against forcing the ball to a single player because I think that can get sloppy. But there are also ways you can just integrate a player more into the game plan, moving a player up in the progressions, scheme touch plays like end arounds or jet passes or screens or things like that. Can they create play action? And if the ball's not getting to Pop Douglas organically, can they find other ways to make that happen? I think that's the big thing I'm going to be watching for. The Jets have 2 good corners on the outside. They're not quite as good in the slot, so you have the advantage there as well. They're going to need to run the ball, but then can you create off of it, specifically getting Pop Douglas involved?
All right, so that's my question, too, because like I look at it now, and we disagree. I think it has been boring. But even if it has, do you think what they're doing right now offensively is sustainable? Because if you don't adjust and you don't change, and it's just let's get 400 touches for Ramondre Stevenson and the wide receivers aren't involved, aren't defenses eventually going to adjust? And if you don't have a counter to that, we are going to be watching incredibly boring football here?
Well, but also, what a waste of a year.
Yes.
Yeah.
To add that in.
So what's crazy to me is it felt like the defense adjusted for Seattle and they were still able to run the ball because Ramondre Stevenson's that good. Where the sustainability thing comes into me, you mentioned this. Ramondre Stevenson is on pace right now for, I think it's 434 touches. That would be the most in the NFL in 10 years. The last guy to have that many was DeMarco Murray in 2014. You got to go back to 2006 and Larry Johnson for the last guy that had that many before that. And we've seen them do this with Stevenson the last 2 years. He's a tremendous player, but it's so hard to be a true bell cow back in the NFL in the modern era. All these teams that relied on these kind of running backs, the Cowboys with Zeke Elliott a few years ago, the Titans with Derrick Henry, these teams that just hammer it with one running back, the workload gets to them when you get to December and January, and they take a step back. And so for me, Stevenson's a dynamic player. I get why you want him on the field, but if you're just going to give him 25 touches a game, you're going to wear him down. And there's got to be more from Antonio Gibson and just more in the passing game to supplement that.
Hey, if you like that clip, check out more videos from Zolak and Bertrand right here. For more Patriots analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. And for all the latest from the Sports Hub, download the app at 985thesportshub.com.